everybody? It's Box Seats, the show where we talk about sports with comedians. I'm your host today, Frank Holder. Get ready to jump into today's Monday morning show. Looking forward to jumping into the show today. First up, the comedian side of things is my man, Fig, Mr. Fair to Midland himself. How you doing, sir?
Van Glorious. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green. Big X in the building.
I haven't heard that open in a long time. That used to be my jam. Mr. Rodney Perry's also in the building. Rodney Perry, how you doing, sir?
What's up, gentlemen? How are you?
I'm doing okay. Also, another comedian known as Mike Sean is in the building too. Mike, how you doing today, sir?
I'm excellent. Fig, you forgot the sissy.
And also, let me bring in Amir Sealy in the building. Amir, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How you gentlemen doing, man? Happy Monday to everybody. Good to see everybody.
Boy, you looking good, Amir. Boy, cleaning the boy the health, God dog.
All right, so let's ready to jump into the show, man. Right before we got on the air, I definitely want to jump into the NBA Finals, but right before we got on the air, I'm going to start with you, Fig. You're not going to believe, actually, you probably will believe this. Mr. Deshaun Watson got a 24th accusation pinned against him. Literally, the Sports Center just broke at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes before we got in the air with the 24th accusation against him. So in the last 2 weeks, here it is, Deshaun Watson has now had 2 accusations against him. And I want to know what your thoughts would be, literally, on Deshaun Watson getting a 24th accusation against him. And Fig, I'm going to ask you, do you think the Cleveland Browns should keep Baker Mayfield knowing this stuff is happening?
Well, first off, I think they should keep Baker Mayfield regardless, because you never know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, whether these cases are true or false. Deshaun Watson is going to get some sort of suspension. What we don't know is how many games he's actually going to be suspended for. So I think you keep Baker Mayfield regardless, and especially since nobody has offered anything significant enough for you to get up off a quarterback the caliber of Baker Mayfield. You're going to need him. So I say hold on to him. Now, for this extra woman that joined, some people say where there's smoke, there's fire. I say where there's millions of dollars, there'll be gold diggers.
Inappropriate sexual conduct during massage therapy sessions is the new charges filed against him. Rodney Perry, this is interesting because at the end of the day, I think it might be making the Cleveland Browns a little bit, nervous on this situation, worried about more coming up and possible criminal charges. What's your take on it?
I mean, I'm sure they went through all of these eventual scenarios before they forked over all this money for this young man. It's just not over yet. And I don't even know if they were planning for him to play this season. So I think they are ready for every eventuality. And Deshaun Watson will wear a Cleveland Browns jersey and lose like everybody else that wears it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Mike Sean, I think Rodney Perry's on to one thing for the fact that the Cleveland Browns might not have been prepared for him to wear a jersey this season. Like maybe they already knew he wasn't going to play this season. I don't know. What's your take, Mike?
I don't give the Brown organization any type of credit. That would be smart. That would be the intelligent thing to do as an organization, to plan ahead and be like, we may not have this guy for half a season or the whole season. Facts. His lawyer, who gets paid over $1,000 an hour, went on a radio show and he did an interview and he actually said, how many men out there have ever had a massage that ended with a happy ending? This is what he said. This is a quote. He then said, that's not illegal. It's only illegal if you pay extra for it. I don't know why this guy would even say this, but he said it and then said the lady was paid $5,000. One of the ladies was paid $5,000 for the massage.
That was a tip.
That was a tip. So as long as you don't pay extra for it, that's what the lawyer said. As long as you don't pay extra specifically for that, it is not illegal. So I'm like, all right, well, then maybe it's not illegal. The Browns ain't ready for it. There's going to be a bad season for the Browns, and it may be the rebirth of Baker Mayfield. Because we got to remember, Deshaun Watson hasn't played football for a long time. So we got to give him time to get back into the groove of things. Even Michael Jordan needed time to get back to being Michael Jordan.
He did. Yeah.
So this is going to be a lost season that they paid $230 guaranteed million for when Russell Wilson was out there and other quarterbacks were available. So that's the Cleveland Browns, y'all.
I think Russell, that Russell deal came down first, though, didn't it?
No, Deshaun came, I think, before Russell Wilson, but I might be mistaken.
Go ahead, Amir. Your take.
Wow. The funny thing is, Rodney hit the nail on the head with the tip part, so we will just let that marinate for a bit. But once you get beyond that, you know what the real issue is here for Deshaun Watson? And, obviously we all spoke on this months ago when this thing first broke. This obviously is a young man who doesn't have seemingly some elder guide, some elder person in his life who could just guide him a little bit on what he's supposed to be doing and certain ways he's supposed to carry himself. It's okay. He's young. He's not married. He appears to not be in a relationship. So massages, however they may go, and whatever, perks he likes in his massages is obviously up to him. But bruh, you can't have this many people who you have this kind of information out there about you floating around. One person, two people, maybe. 24, bruh, what you doing? What you doing? Where's the dudes who's the OGs in his circle who go, come here, son, let me talk to you, bro. Like, what you doing? You know what I mean? Like, let's get it together. I will say this. I think the Baker Mayfield part is an interesting dynamic, and I do think, to everybody's point, they're going to have to hold on to him because it appears that this Deshaun Watson thing obviously is not going to go away for some time. So they still need to have something in place while that whole thing kind of dissipates. So I think they don't have to hold on,
Frank.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's only 24. I'm thinking to myself, it's 32 teams in the NFL. I'd say Deshaun Watson is being underserved. I mean, what if you got a massage therapist in every town where there's an NFL team? You're going to have to get treatment. These guys get treatment after every game. So it could have possibly been 32 or at least 32 for every team in the NFL. You go to a different state. You got one in New York. You got one in Philly, Washington. You be all over.
Big, they still have time for 8 more to come. There's still time.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time. There's still plenty of time.
So relax.
Happy endings ain't illegal, and no sex in the champagne room.
Yeah. This is true. All right, let's jump into the NBA Finals. Everybody had a great time talking about this on Friday. Let's see. Look at it like this. Before I even jump into my comments about the game, let's just look at it like this. The facts are the Golden State Warriors came back, 16 turnovers by the Celtics, and it looks like Golden State Warriors had an attitude adjustment. They ended up winning, beating the Boston Celtics 107-88, and of course, it was another blowout loss for the Celtics. As again, they ended up letting the third quarter get away from them. Fig, what's your first thoughts before we dive into most of the game? What's your first thoughts after you saw game 2, the Golden State versus Boston Celtics?
Well, honestly, I didn't expect it to be that one-sided. That is the one thing that struck me as unusual. I expected the Celtics to be formidable in game number 2, seemingly how well they played in game 1. But my first take is that I think in the fourth quarter, the Golden State Warriors in game 1 took their foot off the gas a little too early and got a little complacent, and the Boston Celtics punched them in the mouth. And this time they played, aggressive defense, and their offense seemed to be firing on all cylinders, with the exception of Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins didn't give him as much as he was giving them in game 1. So I didn't see it being this one-sided, but I just figured that the Golden State Warriors was going to win. I just didn't know it would be by this much.
All right, so let me jump to Rodney Perry. Rodney Perry, what's your take on what you saw?
And I know you guys were excited to see the Boston Celtics do their thing the other night, but They're streaky, man. And I said this before the series started. They can't afford to go through those cold spots. Jason Tatum, who's lights out, he's a great player, but I mean, the guy is still like, he still goes through these. He seemed to fade, and I'm sure you can speak to this, Frank. He seemed to fade for long periods, and they don't give him the ball. I'm like, what? Why is dude with the little bun handling the ball instead of Jason Tatum? Like, why is Tatum not bringing the ball up through big hunks of the game? I don't know if it's coaching, it's the way they play. I don't get it, man. And I think when the offense is not going through him, they're a discombobulated team, and it just looks bad. Even Brown went through hunks of the game, didn't touch the ball. I'm like, what's going on? Dude, I swear to God, they threw the game. You can't play like you play in the first game and turn around and play this bad the second game. It don't make sense.
Yeah, I'll clean that up in a bit. Mike, Sean, what was your take? What you saw?
Right, ain't the first person to say that, but I'm just gonna say this: role players in this game are key. And you saw I mentioned Jordan Poole when they lost the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Poole 17, Wiggins 11, Looney 12, Thomas 15. When you get your team, in order for the Celtics to beat Golden State and Golden State to beat the Celtics, they need a whole balanced attack.
Yeah.
Steph Curry he's already impossible, but he becomes more impossible when there's a balanced team that's actually hitting shots. And what happened was the Celtics role players were gone. Like, it was almost better when Tatum had 13 assists than when he had 29 points.
Wow.
Because he was able to get Marcus Smart, who only had 2 points. He was able to get Harford into it, who only had 2 points. Like, you can't beat this. We're in a situation where two teams play so much great defense that you need everybody to contribute in here. I don't care if it's 7 rebounds. It may seem like nothing. No, those 7 rebounds, 3 can be offensive rebounds. You can't let Golden State get offensive rebounds. You let them get offensive rebounds, they're gonna score. You're not gonna allow them to get 2 and 3 shots and think you're gonna get away with that. I still think the series is going 7. And I just want to point this out. The officials did not cause the Celtics the game. But when Jeff Van Gundy said the reason why they didn't call double text was because of the circumstances, like, you're really telling us that the rules change when the refs decide the rules change.
We're going to get to that point.
So I just want to bring that.
We'll get to that point in a second.
But it didn't cost them the game. It didn't cost.
No, it didn't. No, no. The game was over. The game was over. I'll get to that in a second. Amir, what's your take, bro? What'd you see? Amir, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
I echo a lot of what Mike said. I thought that, when you looked at the game yesterday, he's absolutely right. The role players for Boston, for whatever reason, didn't show up. And I just think that it looks like this series is going to be a game of attrition, meaning each game is going to come down to which team actually plays the entire game. Not spurts, not moments, the entire game. They have to come and bring their A game the entire game. You can't let up. You can't give the other team an opportunity under any circumstance. You can't turn the ball over. And most certainly, you have to play as though each game is the last game and give it that kind of energy and that kind of effort. And I'm not sure if we're going to see that night in and night out, because when I looked at Boston yesterday, not that at any point they looked like their heads were down or hung low. They just didn't seem to have that same look in their eyes like, okay, we got to battle these guys. They're not going to just give it up to us. And as, formidable champions or former champions, that's what champions are going to do. They're going to come and, give you their absolute best. So you got to come and have your super A game. So it remains to be seen. But I thought yesterday was going to play out exactly the way that it did. I expected Golden State to win the game, and they did.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. This is what I noticed. Everybody gave their point. Let me give my point. When Boston has 19 turnovers, obviously that 19 turnovers turned to 36 points. That's going to be definitely a problem. When you have all these issues and everything else, and you're 0-5 when they turn the ball over 16 times or more, that's the game. You know what I mean? But let me bring up a couple other points. Because one point I noticed is everybody here, everything they said was right. One big thing that stood out to me, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Fig, first. One thing that stood out to me first is when the Celtics stopped moving the ball, when they stopped passing in the passing lanes, they stopped moving the ball. They have issues, they have problems. But one thing I want to ask you, Fig, the NBA said, the NBA came out and said, like Mike touched on it a little bit. Basically, when there's we all saw that during the game, the technical fouls issue. We all saw that during the game. Where do you stand on the technical foul issue? Because Mike Green. Jeff Van Gundy said, you know what I mean? Because Draymond Green already had one tech. Another one shouldn't have been called on him. But if there had been a normal season, a regular game in the season, they both would have got an offset in tech. If you missed it, it was between him and Jaylen Brown. They got into an issue and everything else. Mm-hmm. And obviously it upset a lot of people in Celtics Nation. Honestly, I understood it. I didn't expect him to get second technical. I just let's play ball. But what was your take on that, Fig? What'd you think?
I think the referees, let me just say this. Let's give a shout out to all NBA referees because they have one of the toughest jobs probably out there, man. To referee an NBA game that's going at 100,000 miles an hour with these super athletes has to be extremely difficult for a referee. But not only do they referee the game, they referee situations. They also referee reputations. Like, there's always guys in the NBA that get reputation calls. Patrick Beverley, Dennis Rodman, Draymond Green, they referee these guys a little different than they do the rest of the guys in the NBA, and it's based on reputation. But here's something that we have to wrap our mind around. The NBA is about entertainment. It's about family entertainment. If you cross the line to the point where you threaten the NBA or their family entertainment values, then they're probably going to toss you. You know what I mean? The last thing in the world they want is the malice in the palace or fights like it used to be back in the NBA. The other thing is the referees don't want to be the deciding factor in any particular game. And you have to remember that I'm sure it's in the NBA mind and in around the whole NBA thought process is that they possibly cost the Golden State Warriors a championship when they suspended Draymond Green in the finals the last time. And they didn't want to put their imprint on the game yesterday because if the Warriors lose, the series is possibly over. And I don't think the referees wanted that responsibility, so they let it pass.
Okay.
Was it egregious? I don't think so. Had it been in a regular season, would they have called it? Possibly. Do they want to be a deciding factor in the finals? I don't think so.
Okay, so you're on the fence of they shouldn't have called it. I'm on the fence that they should have called it, even though I knew they wasn't gonna. I'm on that side of the fence because
you're a Celtics fan, of course.
No. It's not about being a Celtics fan. It's about being fair and equal, clear across the board. You can't show some players preferential treatment to me, but I understand why they did it. I'm not saying I didn't understand that. Rodney Perry, what's your take?
I mean, it wasn't as egregious to me as a lot of people said. Draymond came down, his legs came across him, and it didn't get aggressive to Brown pushed him. I mean, I think his legs going across him was not intentional. You disagree, Frank?
How hard he put his leg on his head. He had his leg instead of his leg on his head. That's why he got it. Have you ever known Jaylen Brown to ever get that upset during a basketball game after all the stuff that's happening?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
never has.
Well, again, guys, I mean, the prism you look at the game through, especially as a fan, is a different prism. I'm not a fan of either team. It didn't look egregious to me, but I get it.
I get it.
But if you give a double tech there, which is what it would have been called for, it doesn't help anybody, does it?
Oh,
it really
does. It does because Draymond gets kicked out the game. Jaylen Brown stays in the game.
Yeah, it helped the Celtics. But then anyway, let me finish. Let you finish your point. You finish your point.
So wait. So Draymond's got a tech on the books already from this series.
He had a tech. He had a tech.
Yeah, he got a tech yesterday. Yesterday's game.
In the game.
But a tech has levels though, so it had to be a certain type of tech, right?
No, once you get two, you get tossed.
Hold on, Fig. It would have been a second technical, and he would have got kicked out of the game. That's what the whole thing was.
Oh, okay. And so you just trying to win the game, Frank.
I ain't trying to
y'all
win
would
yes.
Y'all was gonna still get your ass whooped.
I'm trying to be fair. That's all. I'm trying to be fair.
No, you're not. You're a Boston fan. It's okay. You want them guys to win.
Bruh, no. I don't want to win by that like that. I don't want to win like that. I don't want to win like that so people can say, oh, Draymond Green got protected out so that way. I don't want to win like that. I want everybody in the game so everybody could be. But if a foul is a foul, the tech is a tech, then that's what it is. Don't call it one way, don't call it another way. That's all I'm saying. Be fair.
But they've been consistently doing that the whole season, though.
Yeah, and Frank, you know what that goes to? You know what it goes to? It goes to that in the regular season, a foul is one way, but in the playoffs and the finals, the same thing is not a foul. So, I mean, you can't have it both ways.
But they are having it both ways.
They are.
That's the problem. The refs are having it both ways. And the problem I'm having is that Draymond knows they're not going to throw him out.
Which he said.
He's been acting up and using this against. And this is why he's getting away with so much stuff that nobody else on the floor is getting away with, because they keep going back to this damn story that they blew the series for the Golden State Warriors because he got suspended for a game. They had game 7 at home. If LeBron had game 7 at home and he lost, nobody would bring up the fact that he was suspended for a game. They would say you had game 7 in your house and you lost. You were there for 6 out of the 7 games. So I'm tired of the refs like, oh, we're not going to want to get it. We don't want that to happen again. Well, Draymond, as a basketball player, should know if Draymond in his mind believes he blew that series, why are you still acting the ass? Why are you still putting yourself in the same situation that you claim blew a championship?
But I don't know. I mean, Mike, you think that situation was that egregious?
No, I think the fact of the matter is, I don't think stuff like that should get people kicked out of games. I don't think that should be text, but it is. And when you got the announcer saying normally that would be a tech, but under the circumstances, what you're saying is you're giving up the gig. You're saying the refs are like, whoa, we can't.
And the ref comes on and says the same thing. The retired ref came on and said the exact same thing. Then that's a problem too. Amir, let me throw it to you. And you had a brother in the NBA, and being that you had a brother in the NBA, if you see that instance, and then you see the other instance when Derek White gets tripped up, and they stop. Here's the crazy thing about it. Yes, this part I did a Celtics fan thing. They stopped the play, the fast break, and then they took away the technical foul. And everybody's like, yeah, okay.
Come on, Big. Go ahead, Frank. We listening.
Here's what I'll say. I thought the White play, I didn't think that one was definitively a technical. I just thought that he was, trying to defend himself, Jordan Poole. Here was the funny thing about that one. White was clearly going to clear him, though, so he didn't need to stick up his hand like there was a chance that he was going to get kicked in the head. So that was some extra acting stuff that Poole pulled. So it is what it is. To the point that Mike just made about Draymond Green, and to the point that Rodney and Fig are making, no matter what is said, you're right, it was a normal foul. Here's where it became egregious. When you put the bottom of your sneaker in another person's face, and you didn't have to do that, because if you looked at the play when he originally fell, he didn't have to twist and spin and do all that stuff. Draymond Green did that on purpose because, to Mike's point, he knows that there are things that he can get away with, and that is part of Draymond Green's hold up, Fig. That is part of Draymond Green's game and headspace. The problem with it is you leave open to what Rodney alluded to and what you alluded to, Fig, things escalating in a way that they don't need to escalate if you put this guy in a position to say, all right, Draymond, let's cut the shenanigans, dog, and just play the game. See, that's where the real problem lies with this whole situation. Until you punish him or whomever, and set a precedence, then everybody else will fall in line. But as long as you're going to let Draymond get away with that kind of antics and that kind of foolishness, then he's going to continue to do those kinds of things. That's why that play was so egregious. That's why everybody's so upset. You cannot let these guys get out of hand with that kind of stuff and then go, well, it was in the... No, it wasn't. Draymond, stop. Act like a normal human being. And if you're going to beat somebody, beat them off of your normal ability to defend and do all of that stuff. When you start doing all the extra antics, it's just like flopping and all the other stuff that we hate when we watch the game now. That rolls right into that same area.
Now, is there still the rule if you add up enough technicals in the playoffs, you can get ejected from a game?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
All right, so I don't want to hear anybody complaining because Draymond's got 2. So if he hits the limit, I don't want to hear this story. Oh my God, Draymond knows what his responsibility is on that team. He's the one doing this stuff. He's the one making these actions. So if he gets another technical or another 2 technicals and he gets suspended for a game, I don't want to hear the excuse that the reason why Golden State lost is because Draymond wasn't there.
Interesting. Fig, you wanted to say something? You wanted to jump in?
No, I mean, the only thing is that it's ironic to me when people make these calls based on judgment and based on the personality of the individual. But if we remember correctly, back when they talk about when Draymond got suspended, Draymond was standing up. LeBron James stepped over him and put his genitals on his face area. And Draymond pushed him up. Yes, he did. He called LeBron James a bitch. And that's the reason why Kiki Vandeweghe said that he suspended Draymond Green for that game. Now, it wasn't only that. It was the fact that 2 significant players in the very next game got injured in addition to the suspension. And that's why people say the Golden State Warriors lost that series against Cleveland, because 2 players. And the year before, when the Cleveland had 2 players missing, everybody accepted that is the reason why they lost.
No, they didn't. Okay,
yes, they do.
Okay, all right.
They never even bring it up when they talk about Golden State's championships. They never bring it up. They never
because champions don't make excuses. That's why.
What I'm saying is when they talk about
championships don't make excuses.
When they don't have to, because nobody brings up Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving not playing that series. Nobody brings it up. Just like they never bring up Magic pulling a hamstring the first.
Well, yeah, we don't do that, but LeBron fans bring it up all the time.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'm sorry. Well, let me ask you this, Fig. So you're for the record, you're agreeing or disagreeing, because you said a lot, and I'm still trying to understand where you was at. You agreeing or you disagreeing with the 2 no calls? Were you agreeing with that?
I agree. I don't. Listen, I don't think that you should have had. I don't think you should call it technical and throw a guy out on something like that, because we all know that the rules change according to the situation. What is a foul in the regular season is not a foul during the playoffs and the finals. The fouls that the Celtics got away with in the first series on Kevin Durant was a foul during the regular season all day, every day. But because it was the playoffs, they got away with it. So you can't have it one way for one team in one series and then get mad when somebody else is doing it in another one.
You know what you do? You have a knack of taking stuff that has one thing not to do with the other. We're not talking about fouls. We're talking the topic right now is what the refs call as a technical foul.
I
know what you're saying.
But what else call it different all the time?
But they have emphasized. This is what kills me about the NBA. They made a specific effort to specify that they weren't going to deal with this, and that's why these technical fouls were being called. They made it specifically to make these players know all season long. They were like, this is what's going down. You hit somebody in the head, you do this, we feel this. Technicals are going to be called, double technicals, and then the playoffs come and they go, never mind.
Yeah, that's true. But also
every year.
But also, if any other player in the NBA in the playoffs had did what Draymond Green had did last night, that would have been a foul. But they didn't lose because of that. So I don't even want to you bring that up.
But just watch. But just watch. The refs are gonna have a big deal whether Golden State wins or Boston wins. The refs are gonna have a major part.
A lot out of it. Unlike the first game. The first game they let them play. The second game, the game kept stopping because of the refs, which drove me nuts. All right, y'all. So let's get ready to talk about. Here's another thing I saw this morning. And I'm going to start with you, Fig, back to you. Should the NBA shorten its season? And what do you think the repercussions would be if the NBA shortened its season from an 82-game season? Because everybody was up in arms about that this morning on Sports Talk. What do you think?
I think it's insane. People say that these athletes are better and better conditioned and stuff like that. But, you know, they suffer injuries all the time. Now they want to make an exorbitant amount of money, but they don't want to play the 82 games. It's just ridiculous. At this point, it's like, when does it stop? And then what happens to the record books when a team previously was playing 82 games and such happened, but now you're playing shorter games? Like, it's just ridiculous. It's like, I don't think the season is long. 82 games doesn't seem like a lot to play basketball. And I just think it should stay the way that it is.
Okay, so you think it should stay the way that it is. Rodney Perry, do you think the NBA should shorten this season because the NBA players are complaining about injuries and there's a lot that they're complaining about? But what do you think, Rodney?
Of course you don't think the season is too long because you are a regular guy sitting on your couch watching the game, okay? They play 80-some games, and how about this? We say this all the time. The season don't start till the playoffs. It's all a big seeding match. And so do you need 80 games playing certain teams 5 or 6 times, play other teams once, you know, to decide the finals? I say no. I'm not against this at all. Maybe not 50-some games they're talking about, but maybe taking 10 games off that schedule takes a little pressure off those teams. Guys are still going to get injured. Guys are still going to have problems, you know, but I don't feel sorry for basketball and the shield of basketball in the grander scheme of things, because the money isn't generated at the box office. The money is generated with commercials. And they got lofty contracts with these networks, so they'll be okay.
Interesting take.
Either way, you're gonna lose money.
Hold on, Fig.
You're not gonna lose money because the networks are gonna pay the same amount or more.
Mike Sean, what's your take, bro? What do you think? Should the NBA shorten this season?
Look, the NFL's changed its season 3 or 4 times in history. They've added games. I think if we're gonna complain about load management. Like, I did complain about load management. I was one of the first, and Popovich, when he first started doing it with Tim Duncan and doing it with the Spurs and stuff like that, I did complain. But then when I see the playoffs coming, I see guys like Jimmy Butler and PJ Tucker, and I see other players getting hurt, I start realizing that this is a faster game than it's ever been before. So this 82-game season might be taking a toll on players. And let's remember that these players are now playing from the time they're 11 years old in AAU. So they're doing a lot more than they used to do. So if it shortens the season a little bit, I really don't care about the record books. But if we shorten the season, then the players have to readjust this load management thing. At a certain point, we got to start saying, okay, we can shorten the season, but then these stars, you got to play, because you can't shorten the season 15, 20 games and then tell me that I'm not going to see, I don't know, even though Giannis doesn't load management, but I'm just going to use him for an example. You know, I go to the stadium to go see, he comes to Philly, I go see Giannis, and they say, no, he's taking a day off. He doesn't want to play a back-to-back. Then we got to end that. Like, it's got to be a give and take if we're going to shorten the season.
Interesting take. Amir, what's your take?
It's funny. I think, Mike definitely hit the nail on the head. I was going to say the same thing, especially about the AAU part. I think I mentioned that before. We have to realize that a lot of these players who we're seeing now in this modern era of basketball are playing way more basketball than they've ever been played in the past. Yes, we've always had AAU. Yes, we've always had, programs and situations where guys played the game. But the difference is we also had parents who said, hey, bring your behind home, get some rest, so forth and so on. To Mike's point, these kids playing AAU, they play North Carolina. Next week we in Texas. The following week we in wherever and whatever. So I don't think that these kids are healing up properly, which means you don't go home, lay down, relax, let your body rest properly so that it can heal properly, because that's when your body does most of its healing. We move, we fast forward to where these kids are in the NBA, and the reason why we've seen some of the greats of this newer generation have these what appears to be freak accidents. It's not. The body just is too much. So to shorten the season, do I think it's a great idea? There probably is some validity to that, because I think that they're doing too much on the front end. So now when you get to the back end, we now have this situation where guys' bodies are not able to maintain and keep up with, what you call it. Now you'll say medical science is better. They get guys back on the court fast and all that, and all that's great. But the reality of it all is you're the only person who really knows your body and what you're capable of doing and not doing. And I think for a lot of these players, that's what it's really boiling down to. I want to be able to cut. I want to be able to dunk on somebody, but I know honestly I can't do that. So am I helping my team or am I hurting them while I'm out there on the court under those circumstances? So I think the load management does have some.
I'll leave it with this. Let me leave it with this before we jump to the next story. I don't think they should shorten the season. But if they do shorten the season, I want more participation during the All-Star break and All-Star week and all that other stuff. That's what I want, because at the end of the day, they're trying to shorten the season to please the fans, because the fans will be able to see more players play in the NBA finals. I mean, the NBA playoffs and stuff like that. So it's got to be a give and take. Next up, man, I'm gonna ask you, Fig. I'm gonna ask you what you think about this. Quinn Snyder resigned. He's the head coach of the Utah Jazz. He said the Utah Jazz needs a new voice. Donovan Mitchell came out and said he was surprised and extremely disappointed this morning. And sources around him are saying that now more than ever, he's going to want to force his way out. And let's not forget, the Miami Heat is now circling the drain on trying to get Donovan Mitchell down to Miami. What's your take on what you hear was going on with Utah? Fig, what you think?
I mean, listen, it was a lot of fighting between the star players, between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and Quinn Snyder, probably just got tired of it. It looked like Donovan Mitchell was on his way out long before Quinn Snyder made the decision to step down as head coach of Utah. I mean, we talked about it on this show. It looked like Donovan Mitchell was going to leave. So because him and Rudy Gobert couldn't get along. It reminds me back of like Kobe and Shaq, and one of them had to leave. But, it is what it is, man. He's been there a long time, and he probably just needs a break. He's been there 8 years, and he probably just needs a break.
Rodney, when you take a look at this from the outside, you look in and everything else, does it say more to you than ever when a coach? Because coaches normally don't resign. That just doesn't happen. Does this scream something else to you?
That's a great question, Frank, man. I think it does. I think it speaks to the organization. I think it speaks to a guy that's tired of getting his butt whooped. And at the end of the day, the organization is not making the necessary moves. As a coach, you got to get out of there. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
Okay. So let me ask you, Mike, do you think the coach is saying that he's tired of going up against upper management? And he's like, you know what? Y'all not giving me the pieces I need to win, and let me resign before I get fired. You think that's what the move is?
That's probably the move, but it's hard. It's not a destinational spot, Utah, to get players. So their draft has to be on point all the time. And then they can get a Mike Conley, who's a quality player. They can get quality players there. They just can't get another superstar with Donovan Mitchell to go out there. I've always said it. I said when people were talking about LeBron jumping teams, I said, if LeBron really wanted to win championships, the team he would have jumped to was the San Antonio Spurs. But nobody's going to San Antonio voluntarily when you're in your prime. You go there when you're out your prime to go get checks and to make that money. So I guess Quinn Snyder must already have a job in his back pocket. He must already have something already stirring where he's going to leave, sit out a year, and coach another team. He must have a plan, because normally people don't leave like that and leave that money on the table. So, yeah.
Unless Amir, he's leaving because he knows he's going to lose Donovan Mitchell. Like, you know what I mean? And he knows he's going to lose one of his stars, and he knows his record is going to be worse the following year or the following 2 years. I don't know. I mean, what's your take, Amir?
You know what? I think that I think you might be absolutely right. As a coach, I think one of the toughest things for so many of the coaches in at that level is obviously one, keeping the voice and being the voice of the team and the voice of reason. But then the second part is, if you know that you're going to lose a key player, and let's be clear, as much as we love Rudy Gobert and his defensive prowess and what he brings to the table, he doesn't bring anything from an offensive standpoint. And with no Donovan Mitchell, you could play all the defense in the world you want. What we gonna do? That, like you said, and then Mike, just icing on the cake. Who goes to Utah? I've never heard anybody under any circumstances going, "Yo, we going on vacation. Where you going?" Utah. We don't. Nobody goes there. You just don't.
Yeah,
so it makes perfect sense.
That doesn't happen. All right. I want to come back to a couple other things, but I want to make sure I got this story in. I'm gonna start with you, Fig, with this one. This is really, really unusual. Usually, Fig, when teams all get together, they all band together to do something, whatever. And June is Pride Month. Tampa Bay Rays are showing their support for the LGBTQ community by having Pride Night at Tropicana Field, which features the players wearing special hats and rainbow logos and sleeves on the field. Several players Saturday night said they're not doing it, and they decided they weren't going to do it. And a lot of people in the LGBTQ community were upset and said that they want to basically boycott the Tampa Bay Devil Rays and everything else. The reason why I wanted to bring it up is because it's unusual that a team, either the team all wears the decals or the team doesn't wear the decals. This is the first time in sports history, that some players have said they're not wearing decals, other players have, you know what I mean, where it's been completely divided. And some players said it because of religious reasons. They don't want to support the stripes and stuff on their uniforms. Where do you sit on this, Fig? Do you think it should be an all or no thing? Do you think the Tampa Bay Devil Rays should have all done it, or none of them done it? Or what's your thought process?
Wow, that's big. To unpack this, man, and to be 100% honest, we live in a country that's divided anyway. And since when do you take a vote on how you're going to run your organization? I mean, if it's your baseball team and you're for the LGBTQ community and you decide that that's something that you want for your organization, you want your employees, because that's what baseball players are, that's what athletes are. They're high-paid employees. You want your employees to do something to represent some organization. Then that's the the mandate that you send down. And it's not unusual for employees to push back sometimes. Everybody, although we would like to be in a perfect world for other rights, LGBTQ, black, white, whatever, everybody's not like that. We live in a racist society. Some people have prejudice against the gay community. Some people have prejudice against black people. It's all over. So it's not surprising that a baseball team would not all be on one accord when it comes to wearing something to support the LGBTQ community. If it was something like cancer or illness or something like that, everybody would probably be for it. But remember, Colin Kaepernick got suspended because he took a knee to protest police brutality. They didn't like it. Par for the course in America.
Riley Perry, Fig touched on a thing I was going to throw to you. It's not like it was like
cancer awareness.
Any of that. It's not like, the Celtics, for example, have Vistaprint. You know what I mean? Where a team can wear a logo of another company. That's what they have. This is crossing the line of religious beliefs and things like that. And it also could be now if you accept the LGBTQ, then you can start accepting Black power and stuff like that on uniforms. And also, where are you at with this? Do you think that teams should all aboard, not aboard? You know what I mean, or individual? Where I don't want to put words in your mouth. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm not mad at the guys making the individual choices, but as a team, the team can also mandate it. Look, man, the gays ain't going nowhere. Okay, wear the flag, man. That don't make you gay. Y'all always pausing the brother. I'm never gay. So if like standing up on behalf of our gay brothers and sisters is like standing up on behalf of somebody that's being bullied, and you as a person that's supposed to be a role model, I think that's the least you could do.
All right, I understand what you're saying, but let me throw this out there to you, Mike Sean. On the flip
now,
side,
if you put the patch on your ass start hurting, then you don't wear it.
Wait a minute. Did you say on the flip side, Frank?
On the other side, Mike, is it like the detractors can start saying, well, this opens the door up for people and what they believe with gun violence, and this opens the door up for people believe in blacks, all that type of stuff. It's crosses that road. What's your thoughts on this, Mike?
This is why I will never make it on ESPN or FS1, because I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you are strong in your faith and you believe highly. I don't. Like Rodney said, gay people have been here. Like transsexuals and everybody, they've been here. But if you're somebody who's really totally against this and you're being forced to wear it, doesn't it kind of contradict the freedom of that person also?
Freedom of speech? It definitely does.
And the freedom of that person to be able to choose not to represent something. Like if somebody wanted me to wear a decal on something that I totally disagree with, like should I not be allowed to be like, dog, this is something that I adamantly disagree with, whether I agree with the person or not. But if I'm adamant, like, I don't know, dog. All I know is baseball. This is what you get for doing stuff simply to make money, because you don't care about the community.
Yeah,
you just care about trying to make money and being socially correct and get another fan base in. But that's what you get. So you deal with. Michael Sean don't got the answer. I don't.
You're right, man. Look, Frank. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Man, what's your take on this, bro? Because if you're a strong, devout Christian and everything, as you are in your beliefs and everything else, it literally is completely against all your Christian beliefs by putting an LGBTQ, pin on you, because that's completely if that's what you believe. You know what I mean? If you believe
man,
you could.
What's so funny?
I don't make the rules. I'm just saying.
I tend to believe or think, a little bit more along the lines of what Rodney said. You are just, in theory, coming together with your brethren on a specific team to show support for whatever. I think Mike Sean is also right about if you stand. My thing is this: if it's a pin, it's one thing. Now, if you ask us to wear rainbow-colored uniforms, that's another thing.
Well, they were asking to wear some rainbow color stuff. It wasn't just a pin, it was rainbow color stuff. It was some stuff that was rainbow color.
So my thing is, if we had to go out there as a team and let's just say wear a rainbow colored uniform, I'd probably have some pushback on that. But a pin, me personally, I'd be like, all right, that's not a big deal. But I do understand that this is why our country in particular is such an interesting place, because we have these really weird quirks about things that seemingly in the grander scale shouldn't be so complicated. So it's interesting.
That's right.
Go ahead, Fig. You wanted to say something?
I just want to ask, would this be the same thing if they asked black people to wear the Confederate flag? Like, what if they were celebrating Confederacy and they asked black people to wear
it's not
the
same
flag? And then we'd be like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not wearing no Confederate flag. Some people feel that way about the rainbow.
Rodney Perry.
How is that the same thing with them?
How is that not the same thing, Rodney Perry? I want to hear this.
It's not the same at all. Let me tell you something. Okay. I know you guys are all these alpha males. Y'all anti-gay. You don't want nobody messing with the booty. I get it.
I never said I was anti-gay. I never said that.
My booty is not for entry. I get it.
Oh, God.
I get it.
Okay.
There's stigma attached to this, and there's stigma attached to the gay community. But I'm gonna say this: the revolution is coming, and you're gonna need them gay dudes. You're gonna need black gay brothers and sisters. You're gonna need them.
All right.
The essence of what Fig is saying, I get what Fig is saying, but the difference is the Confederate flag was built for oppression and slavery. It was for slavery, and having this is more of them trying to say have inclusion. So the two symbols are different, but I get Fig's point. But the two symbols mean two. They mean two totally different things.
Two different things, but
it is.
But let's be honest. The principality of it is the same. That's all I'm saying.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, wait. Let me
not
just
at
say
all.
it. Let me just
it's
say,
not nowhere near it.
Rodney, can I say something? Let me say this. Here's what I'm trying to say. The people that are supportive or stand behind the Confederate flag, they say it means something completely different to them than what it means to us. Like they don't see it as oppression or as a symbol of hate and murder and stuff like that. To them, they see it as a symbol of their pride and their heritage. See, that's what I'm talking about. You can take a symbol and have two different mindsets about the same particular symbol. Like one people see it as pride and some people will see it as oppression. And that's what it is. It's just about how you view it. Now, me,
if you're homophobic,
I really don't have a problem with gay
people. If you're homophobic, it's different than if you're a racist. It's different.
Yeah, that's true. But let's move on. Let's move on because now I don't want to lose no potential sponsors.
They already turned off when we start talking about it.
Yeah, they did. But I'm gonna throw this out there to you, Fake. I'm gonna get ready to get started. Let's keep the answers short so we can get everybody get a chance to answer. Lamar Jackson out there now is sitting out the OTAs, and people are saying he's gonna sit out the beginning of the season if his contract is not done, and if he's not getting $27 to $30 million a year. But here's the problem I think he's gonna have. He's representing himself. He has no agent. Everybody around him is advising him. His mother is his agent, and he's his agent. He's around him right now, and he's saying right now to sit down because he's in the last year of his rookie contract. If he doesn't get at least $28 million a year, he ain't playing. What's your thoughts, Vic?
I think he's well within his rights, and I'll tell you this: I don't think an agent would advise him any differently. I mean, this is basically simple numbers. It's like when you're in the NFL, it's like whatever the top quarterback got, then the next guy can up that. But that's not even what Lamar Jackson is doing. We got quarterbacks in the NFL making $40 and $50 million. This kid said he wants just shy of 28. And if you don't think he's worth it, then let him go. I don't think he needs an agent to advise him to do anything differently.
Yeah, but I will say this, Rodney Perry. He literally could say that he's better than some of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, just on his stats. Not that he's won a Super Bowl or anything else, but he's up there in the top echelon of QBs. Well, he could say I want $30 million a year, and he could get it from somebody. What's your take, Rodney?
Look, man, we see this time and time again with black quarterbacks. And when it's time to pay a black quarterback, it's all this hemming and hawing. They did it down in Dallas, and now they're doing it with Lamar Jackson. I think it's atrocious. I think it's horrible the way they're doing this guy. But he does have another year on his contract, so he can't force their hand just yet. But the only thing about he won the contract now is he could get hurt and damage his whole career. Give him my money, man.
Give him his money. Okay. Mike Sean, Lamar Jackson, should he sit out? Should he come in under the year of his rookie contract deal? What do you think he should do?
I mean, Lamar Jackson's good right now financially, but because he had to sign his extension, but I'm not in his pockets. He signed an extension. Even if they franchise him, he's going to make $30 million. Mm-hmm. Like he should thank Deshaun Watson right now because he's got to get paid in the top 5 of quarterbacks. So even if they franchise him, he's going to make that $30 million. I'm not worried. He's going to get his money. Like Baltimore's not going to let him walk. they've basically created a whole offense based around him. So if they brought a quarterback in who doesn't have the same skill set of Lamar Jackson, they basically have to start from scratch. So they're going to give him his money. It just depends whether they franchise him and he makes $30 million or they just extend him all over and then he cracks that $200 million.
Okay. You know? Well, I guess the question really should be, Amir, should he be representing himself? Should his mom and him be representing himself in this contract? Because a lot of people are saying that he probably would have his money by now. I guess that's what the question could be. What's your take, Amir?
I think he should be. The reality of it all is Fig is absolutely right. When it comes to any of these teams, it's just about numbers. And let's be clear, the agent is only going to get, but whatever percentage. So you factor that in or factor that out, go on, get your money, tell him what you really want and bet on yourself and go ahead and get your money. That young man deserves it. Like Rodney said, go on and pay him and let that man go on and get ready for this upcoming season.
Okay, Rodney, you look like you wanted to say something to that before we roll up.
No. Go ahead. I'm not going to say nothing different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the last thing I'm going to say, Frank, OTAs are voluntary. So why are they putting pressure on this young man to show up to a voluntary practice? The team is built around him. He knows.
When your goal is Super Bowl or bust, the OTAs are voluntary, but not really.
Yeah, but word is that he's not even going to show up for when the pre-camp is going to start. Also, that's the problem. And honestly, he's being advised by everybody not to show up at all until he gets his contract, like voluntary, involuntary, whatever. Which everybody, I've been listening to all the sports guys. They've been saying the same thing. Don't show up until you get your money, because if he gets hurt, he's in a world of he cannot get hurt. Can't get hurt.
Right.
So why even do it? Practice. You could be running around and twist your Achilles. Anyway, that's the show. So Fig, tell everybody out there how they can follow you, because tomorrow we're gonna talk about a couple other things, man. We gotta jump into some Green Bay stuff, and we're gonna talk about some more NFL, while we also talk about more of the NBA finals and more stuff that's touchy to some players, some people here. Fig, tell everybody out there how they can follow you.
You can follow me at Mike Sean Comedy, because I've been stalking him, but he don't know it.
Mike, everybody can follow you.
What Fig said. Mike Sean Comedy.
Rodney Perry, how everybody can follow you?
I'm easy to find. Rodney Perry live on all social media, man.
I appreciate that, Rodney Perry. Amir, thank you for joining the show, man. I appreciate you coming in.
Sir. Appreciate it. I'm A-Rock Sealy there on Instagram, and Amir Sealy on Facebook, and Amir Sealy on Twitter.
There it is. Talent will be back tomorrow. Thank you to Rodney for jumping in. Thank you to Mike for jumping in. Thank you to Fig jumping in. Thank you for Amir stepping in also. The show's called Box Seats, man. Tomorrow we are going to talk about Rob Gronkowski possibly joining in the Bucs. We got to talk about Green Bay Packers now have 3 rookie wide receivers. What do we think about them with the rookie wide receivers with Aaron Rodgers? I'll be interested to find out what the fellas going to be talking about that. And Aaron Darnold is supposed to step to the plate. People are saying that. And guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo got excused from minicamp right now. People are saying that might be the door to get him to get ready to get traded too. We're going to talk about all of that, which we didn't get to today. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. The show's called Box Seats, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.